A warm morning to all of you. It's a beautiful Monday morning and we're back once again with a fresh edition of Breakfast News. I'm Preeti. With me is Nancy. In the next 1 hour, we'll get you through everything that's making it to the headlines. We'll give you national headlines, we'll give you international updates from the world of sports, business, a web review, and also we get you a health tip, enough to keep you engaged for the 1 hour, for the next 1 hour in fact. And also it's the beginning of a new week. It's a Monday morning. Let's start this show with this beautiful thought which says that hope is the one thing that can help us through the darkest of the times. Remember, it is the hope, it is the positivity in your mind that not only stays with you through the day in all your endeavors but also in the endeavors ahead.
Absolutely, yes. Staying hopeful has to be the important thing that we need to remind ourselves every day, and in fact that's really a great way to begin our day with. And like Preeti mentioned, we'll get you all the news from across the nation, international, business and sports updates. But first a look at the headlines.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi reviews pandemic situation and vaccination program, stresses on the need to continue Jan Bhagidari and Jan Andolan for COVID-19 management. Special campaign for COVID appropriate behavior to run from 6th to 14th of April.
Prime Minister Modi calls attention to avoid mortality from COVID-19 under all circumstances. The central teams to be sent to Maharashtra, Punjab and Chhattisgarh in view of the high case load and deaths.
Maharashtra imposes weekend lockdown, night curfew amid COVID spike, Section 144 to remain enforced during daytime. Rajasthan, Jammu and Kashmir order all classes up to class 9 to be closed for 2 weeks.
Union Home Minister Amit Shah holds a high-level meeting with senior internal security officials in Delhi to review the situation in wake of the Naxal attack in Chhattisgarh. Says martyrdom of the Jawans will not go in vain.
All arrangements in place for crucial assembly elections in 4 states tomorrow as campaigning concludes in Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Puducherry for the third phase of polls in Assam and West Bengal.
Bangladesh goes into a week-long lockdown from today. All the public transport services including roads, waterways, railways and domestic flight will remain suspended.
In sports, Poland's Hubert Hurkacz sees off Italy's Yannick Sinner to win Masters final in Miami. Victory takes Hurkacz into world's top 20. Alright, those are the top stories. We'll get to the news in detail now. We first get to the national headlines.
Absolutely, yes. Prime Minister Modi reviewed the COVID-19 pandemic situation. The Prime Minister said that the five-fold strategy of testing, tracing, treatment, COVID-appropriate behavior and vaccination, if implemented with utmost seriousness and commitment, would be effective in curbing the spread of the pandemic. It was also decided that a special campaign for COVID-appropriate behavior will be organized from 6th to 14th of April.
Amid surging COVID cases in the country, Prime Minister Narendra Modi chaired a high-level meeting to review the COVID-19 pandemic situation and vaccination program in the country. Prime Minister directed that for sustainable COVID-19 management, awareness of the community and its involvement is paramount and there is a need to continue Jan Bhagidari and Jan Andolan for COVID-19 management. He mentioned that the five-fold strategy of testing, tracing, treatment, COVID-appropriate behavior and vaccination, if implemented with utmost seriousness and commitment, would be effective in curbing the spread of the pandemic. It was decided that a special campaign for COVID-appropriate behavior with emphasis on 100% mask usage, personal hygiene and sanitation at public places or workplaces and health facilities will be organized from 6th of April to 14th of April. Prime Minister highlighted the need to enforce COVID-19 appropriate behavior in the coming days and ensure the availability of beds, testing facilities, and timely hospitalization, among others. Prime Minister called attention to avoid mortality under all circumstances by ramping up healthcare infrastructure, availability of oxygen, ventilators beside required logistics, and ensuring that clinical management protocols are followed across all hospitals as well as for those in home care. Prime Minister directed that central teams consisting of public health specialists and clinicians will be sent to Maharashtra in view of high caseload and deaths, and likewise to Punjab and Chhattisgarh because of the disproportionate number of deaths being reported there. A detailed presentation was made which highlighted that there is an alarming rate of growth of COVID-19 cases and deaths in the country, with 10 states contributing to more than 91% of cases and deaths due to COVID. It was noted that the situation in Maharashtra, Punjab and Chhattisgarh is of serious concern. As of date, Maharashtra has contributed 57% of total cases in the country in last 14 days and 47% of deaths in the country during the same period. In Maharashtra, the total number of new cases per day has touched 47,913, which is more than double its earlier peak. Punjab has contributed 4.5% of the total number of cases in the country in the last 14 days. However, it has contributed 16.3% of the total number of deaths, which is a matter of serious concern. Similarly, though Chhattisgarh has contributed 4.3% of total cases in the country over the last 14 days, its contribution in total death has exceeded 7% during the same period. The 10 high burden states and union territories are contributing 91.4% of total cases and 90.9% of total deaths in the country. Prime Minister directed to continue with the mission mode approach in the states and districts reporting high cases so that the collective gains of COVID-19 management in the country in the last 15 months are not squandered. A brief presentation on the performance of COVID-19 vaccination drive was also made. It was suggested that daily analysis of performance should be shared with states and union territories as feedback for corrective actions. Research and development of vaccines were also discussed along with the production capacity of existing manufacturers and the capacity of vaccines that are under trials. The meeting was attended by Principal Secretary to PM, Cabinet Secretary, Home Secretary, Chairperson, Secretary Health, Secretary Pharmaceuticals, Secretary Biotechnology, Secretary Ayush, DG ICMR, Principal Scientific Advisor to Government of India and Member Niti Aayog, besides other officials. Bureau Report, DD India.
12 states and union territories show an upward trajectory of COVID cases in the country. India's total active caseload stands at 6.91 lakh, which comprises of 5.54% of the country's total positive cases. The national recovery rate is 93.14%, while the cumulative recoveries stand at 1,16,29,289.
Meanwhile, to curb the rapid spread of COVID-19 infection, Maharashtra Cabinet has approved the imposition of some stringent restrictions. Night curfew is to be implemented from 8 at night till the 30th of April across the state. It has also been decided to impose a weekend lockdown between 8 at night from Friday to 7 in the morning on Monday in the state. It has also been decided to impose a weekend lockdown from Friday night to Monday morning. Medical and other essential services will be excluded from the lockdown. Agricultural work, public and private transport will also continue smoothly, but private offices, restaurants, cinemas, crowded places will remain closed. And let's now go across to our correspondent Shama Mishra, who is joining us from Mumbai this morning. Shama, of course, Maharashtra had always continued to be a cause of concern, and now, to battle really the surge in the COVID-19 cases, the stringent restrictions have come into force. Just take us through if, they are really being followed in letter and spirit, and you are seeing compliance there by the people of the state, because that's really important and key to fighting this pandemic.
If your state continues to report the positive cases anywhere above 30,000, then you would fear that something like the lockdown or the mini lockdown would happen. And 2 to 3 days back, Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray, while addressing the state, he did mention, he gave a clear hint that a lockdown could be put in place, and that's what happened yesterday. After a brief cabinet meeting, it has been decided, earlier it was decided that every weekend would be a lockdown, and now it was decided that from 5th, starting today, 5th April, non-essential shops, restaurants and these other establishments would remain closed. From that, from 7 a.m. in the morning till 8 p.m. in the evening, the essential shops and everything would remain open. Your daily needs like the breads, bakery, milk shop, chemist, and these things would remain open. Other than that, the non-essential shops would remain closed. From the night 8 p.m. till 7 a.m. in the morning, that is every day, this has already been put in place. Night curfew would be put in place. Night curfew is already in place, and we are seeing that it's by the time it's 8 p.m. all shops are shut. Be it the daily requirement shops like the milk shop, or the bakery and everything, that is also shut. Apart from the chemist, everything is shut in Maharashtra, entire of Maharashtra. Apart from that, people are also going out less after 8 p.m. Those who are returning from their work or with the essential requirements, only those people are seen on the roads. But yes, in the in the lanes or colonies, people are still coming out. Apart from this, strict lockdown about that would be put in place. What all would be open in this? The essential shops, the daily requirements. From this, agricultural work related shops would be open. Manufacturing would continue, but the government has asked that if you can, the manufacturing area can accommodate the workers and reduce the number of workers, then that would be better. Apart from that, shooting of the serials and other film or industry related requirement would be on, but yes, minimum number of people would be there. If a quarantine bubble could be created, that would be the best for the entire shooting and everything. Crowded places like the beach, tourist areas, these would be monitored and strictly monitored. Anybody found not wearing mask would be levied a fine of 1,000 rupees. So this is the fine has been increased so as to deter people, one, from going to these crowded places, and two, not wearing masks. So the people who would be now still going out and wearing the mask, they would be wearing it properly, not below the chin.
Sure.
So yes, people now would have to follow, because yesterday Maharashtra has reported more than 57,000 cases. So this is really an alarming situation, and we've been telling this since the last month that Maharashtra has been reporting record high numbers, but yesterday it was close to a disaster.
All right, Maharashtra recording, the highest number of cases. Shama, let us know more about how is the medical, the hospitals there or the medical establishments there. How well are they equipped to deal with the sudden rush of the COVID cases across the state?
Well, earlier we were seeing when the number of cases had come down, the hospitals which were turned earlier into COVID specialty hospitals were now, taken into the general hospital. Like we already saw the high cases rising in other diseases also. So hospitals required to cater to people had turned themselves into a general hospital, like they were functioning earlier before the COVID time. But now when the COVID time, when the COVID numbers are suddenly increasing, the government has asked them, the state government has asked, the health department has asked them to ramp up their entire facilities. Also, the COVID centers which we were seeing, jumbo COVID centers, they also had initially the capacity of 2,000 beds or more than that, with the ventilator facilities or oxygen facilities combined. So these hospitals had also put out their beds so that because people were not the cases were not that much reported. But now these hospitals have also been asked to increase the number of beds, increase the number of facilities, because from all the area people would be going and searching for hospital beds, and the numbers are also being given from the ward to ward. The helpline numbers have been given to check where the bed facility is available, where the bed is available, and like I've mentioned, all the hospitals have also been asked to increase their facilities, increase the number of beds, also increase the facilities of oxygen and ventilators.
All right, Shama. The medical facilities there, the medical infrastructure in the state also being ramped up. Thank you so much, Shama, for joining us with those inputs. That was our correspondent, Shama Mishra, telling us more on how the state of Maharashtra is bracing itself up when we talk of the sudden increase in the cases of COVID-19 coming across from the state.
But following COVID-19, appropriate behavior is the only solution to tackling and in fact battling COVID-19 pandemic. So it's up to you and everyone, including ourselves, to be really following this COVID-19 appropriate behavior. And moving on now to news from the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. There, the authorities have closed the schools up to 9th till the 18th of April in view of the rising trend of COVID-19 cases. The classes from 10 to 12 have also been closed for 1 week. While apart from this, all the gatherings for social and customary functions in the Union Territory have been restricted to 200 only after following the necessary COVID SOPs.
Rajasthan government has also issued a fresh list of restrictions amid surge in COVID-19 cases. While RT-PCR test has been made mandatory for people entering the state and those travelling outside, schools for classes 1st to 9th will remain shut until further orders. All undergraduate and postgraduate classes will remain suspended except for final year students. Nursing, paramedical and medical colleges will remain open as before. According to the COVID-19 guidelines, cinema halls, theatres, multiplexes, amusement parks will be closed from 5th of April. Swimming pools, gyms will not be allowed to open. The state government further said that excluding the takeaway and delivery services, restaurants should abide by the night curfew.
The Odisha government has also imposed a night curfew in 10 districts between 10 at night to 5 early morning in view of the rising COVID-19 cases. The districts where a night curfew will be imposed are Sundargarh, Jharsuguda, Sambalpur, Bargarh, Bolangir, Nuapada, Kalahandi, Navrangpur, Koraput and Malkangiri. All the shops, commercial establishments, offices, institutions will remain closed and the movement of individuals will be prohibited between 10 at night till 5 early morning except for essential services. The district collectors have also been allowed to impose any further restrictions or allow such activities as felt appropriate considering the local situation. The Jagannath temple in Puri will be closed for public on every Sunday for sanitization.
Meanwhile, to fight with COVID-19, the centre has accelerated the vaccination drive across the country. A total of 7,91,05,163 doses have been administered so far across the nation. 16,38,464 people were vaccinated in a single day on Sunday. Government and various social organizations are motivating people to get vaccinated and shield themselves against COVID-19. The nation commenced the largest vaccination drive in the world on 16th January this year with vaccination of healthcare workers. Vaccination of frontline workers began from 2nd of February, whereas from 1st of March, vaccination of everyone aged above 60 years and above 48 years with specified comorbidities was undertaken. Widening the scope of vaccination from the 1st of this month, under the current phase, everyone above the age of 45 is being vaccinated.
Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath received the first dose of COVID-19 vaccine at a Lucknow hospital.
In Chhattisgarh, the situation of law and order is becoming even more challenging following an encounter between security forces and Naxalites that took place on Saturday. President and Prime Minister both expressed deep anguish over the incident, while Home Minister Amit Shah cut short his poll campaign in Assam and returned to Delhi in order to review the security situation. Amit Shah held high-level meet in the wake of Naxal attack in Chhattisgarh in New Delhi. We get to more in this report.
In an encounter between security forces and Naxalites in Chhattisgarh on Saturday, 22 soldiers were martyred while 31 Jawans got injured. 24 Jawans have been admitted to Bijapur Hospital and 7 have been admitted to the Raipur Hospital.
22 जवानों का डेड बॉडी बरामद की गई थी। अभी एक कोबरा का जो जवान मिसिंग है और घायलों की संख्या टोटल 31 हो गई थी। 31 में 13 घायल रायपुर में इलाज जारी है, बाकी 18 घायल बीजापुर डिस्ट्रिक्ट हॉस्पिटल में इलाज जारी है। सभी घायलों की स्थिति सामान्य है, खतरा से बाहर बताए जा रहे हैं। फिर भी बेहतर इलाज के लिए कुल 13 लोग रायपुर में इलाज रखते और 18 लोग जिला हॉस्पिटल बीजापुर में इलाज जारी है।
Naxals also suffered heavy damages in an encounter in Bijapur, as several Naxals have been killed in this encounter.
ऐसा जानकारी में आ रहा है कि वेपन उनके द्वारा रॉकेट लॉन्चर भी यूज़ किया गया है और हैंड ग्रेनेड भी यूज़ किए गए हैं और जो गन शॉट इंजरीज भी काफ़ी हुई हैं। नक्सली काफ़ी मारे गए, जैसा मैंने बताया कि गोपनीय सूत्रों से जानकारी मिली है 3 या 4 ट्रैक्टरों में उनकी बॉडीज गई हैं।
Earlier on Sunday morning, Home Minister Amit Shah spoke to Chief Minister Bhupesh Baghel over the phone and assured him of all possible help from the centre. Amit Shah also reiterated that the sacrifice of security forces will not go in vain.
दोनों ओर का नुकसान हुआ है, हमारे जवान शहीद हुए हैं। मैं उन सभी जवानों को श्रद्धांजलि भी देता हूं और उनके परिवारजनों को और देश को इतना विश्वास दिलाना चाहता हूं कि जवानों ने अपना खून जो देश के लिए बहाया है वो व्यर्थ नहीं जाएगा। हमारी लड़ाई और मजबूती के साथ और मक्कमता के साथ और तीव्रता के साथ इन नक्सलियों के खिलाफ चालू रहेगी और हम इसको परिणाम तक ले जाएंगे।
मैं उनके परिवार के प्रति संवेदना व्यक्त करता हूं, साथ ही इनकी जो शहादत है वो बेकार नहीं जाएगी और पूरी ताकत के साथ लड़ेंगे। यहाँ तक की बात नक्सलियों की है, वो अपने अस्तित्व की आखिरी लड़ाई लड़ रहे हैं।
Later, Union Home Minister Amit Shah cut short his poll campaign in Assam and returned to Delhi. He held a high-level meet with top officials. The meeting was attended by Union Home Secretary, IB Chief, senior officials of CRPF and Home Ministry. The bodies of several Jawans among the missing security personnel were recovered from the spot following search in the area, and a total of 22 fatalities were reported from the search operation. After this incident, the President expressed his condolences. He tweeted, "The killing of the security personnel while battling Maoist insurgency in Chhattisgarh is a matter of deep anguish. My condolences to the bereaved families. The nation shares their pain and will never forget this sacrifice." Prime Minister Narendra Modi also mourned the incident. He tweeted, "My thoughts are with the families of those martyred while fighting Maoist in Chhattisgarh. The sacrifices of the brave martyrs will never be forgotten. May the injured recover at the earliest." This is the second incident committed by the Naxalites in the last few days, which security experts are seeing as a challenge for internal security.
This is a challenge for the internal security for the nation, and it's definitely a security threat. There were 250 Naxalites in this area. They belong to PLGA battalion, and it is the CPI Maoist group which has been working in this area.
The encounter between CRPF and Naxalites took place in the area between Singrail and Purnia after Rim police station area of Bijapur district on Saturday. In a similar incident nearly 10 years ago, Naxalites attacked on the vehicle of security personnel through an IED blast in Narayanpur district, in which some soldiers were killed and some were seriously injured. Bureau Report, DD India.
And let's now move on. Getting news now from poll-bound states and Union Territory. Well, all arrangements have been put in place for the assembly elections in Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Puducherry, and third phase of polling in Assam and West Bengal. While single-phase polling will take place in Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Puducherry tomorrow, Assam is witnessing a 3-phase voting and West Bengal has 8 phases. 140 assembly constituencies of Kerala, 234 constituencies in Tamil Nadu and 30 assembly seats of Puducherry will go to polls tomorrow. The third phase polling will also take place for 31 seats in West Bengal, and the final phase of polling will take place in Assam for 40 seats. The by-polls also to Kanyakumari Lok Sabha seat in Tamil Nadu and Malappuram parliamentary seat in Kerala will also be conducted simultaneously.
All right, to get us more on that, we're joined in by correspondents from the poll-bound states. To get us more, we will first go across to our correspondent Ravi Dhiman from Kerala. Also, Vishal Baristo is joining us from Assam. and also Abhishek Jha will be joining us from Chennai. But first, Ravi, across to you. Single phase polls will be held tomorrow. All preparations in place?
Yeah, exactly. All preparations are in place. As we stand here in a girls' high school in Kochi, the election material is being distributed to the polling agents and to the presiding officers from this very desk. This is the attendance desk, and after that they are being directed to two halls here where they will be issued the polling materials, which includes the EVM machines, other materials which they will take to their own polling booths to which they have been assigned. And this process will continue through the day. We'll try to show you the distribution of the polling material, where the presiding officers and the polling officers will come, receive their material, and they'll proceed for their polling booths and polling stations. This entire thing is for Ernakulam constituency, the constituency which falls in this district near the vicinity of Kochi city. And here all the preparations are being done as we speak. You can see the polling agents and the presiding officers have been they have started issuing the kits to them, and they are taking the kits with them to their own polling stations, and they will be preparing for the elections and the polling tomorrow for 140 seats in Kerala. This process is going on in all the constituencies of Kerala. Since 8 o'clock, the distribution of the kits, election kits, has started in all the 140 constituencies, and as in here, in government schools or government institutions, buildings belonging to the government, like schools, colleges, the distribution is taking place simultaneously in all 140 seats. And after that, these presiding officers, polling officers who are assigned to particular polling booths, they will go to the polling booths. In this hall, there are 12 counters for 12 polling booths, and in the same way, there is another hall dedicated to the same constituency. So in all, it's a very efficient, well-oiled machine that we see in action today, as it has been for many decades when it comes to elections in any part of India. And it works like a smooth, well-oiled machine, like an automatic machine, and everything is stipulated, everything is maintained in order, so that there is smooth polling tomorrow when people decide on the next state government.
All right, Ravi, thanks very much for joining us for the moment and sharing all those updates there from Kerala. We'll of course be getting back to you and getting more updates as far as the polling tomorrow is concerned. Let's now go across to our correspondent Vishal Barrister from Assam. Vishal, of course, the two crucial phases have already gone by there in Assam, and the third and the final phase is tomorrow, which the state will witness. Just take us through the political developments that you're seeing around you. What really is the electorate got to say there? The political contest, what does it look like, and how significant is the last and the final phase in polling in the state of Assam is for as far as the assembly elections there are concerned?
Well, a very good morning to you, Nancy and Preeti. Before I answer your question, I was hearing the news about the COVID situation in the country, and it is quite scary here in Assam because the people are in a joyful mood, and Bihu is around the corner, so people are not really caring about the mask and social distancing. Even in the rallies, we saw people coming out in large numbers. They were dancing, they were singing. But then the Election Commission has made it very clear that those who would be visiting the polling stations to exercise their franchise will have to adhere to the norms strictly. They will be asked to wear, and they have to wear mask and all with proper social distancing. So more than 79,000 voters would be deciding the fate of 40 seats in 12 districts of Assam, which is the last round. And in Guwahati, if we talk about this, there would be East, West Guwahati, Dispur and Jalukbari, from where the BJP top leader and also the firebrand of BJP here in Assam, Hemanta Biswa Sarma, is contesting the election. 320 companies of paramilitary forces have been deployed to take care of the law and order situation. More than 45,000 polling staff have also been deployed. And let me tell you that around 15,000 ballot papers have been distributed for those who are 80 plus and those who are a person with a disability. So webcasting is there in more than 5,000 polling stations, and 149 polling stations are model polling booths, rather not stations, booths, and more than 11,000 polling stations have been raised for the exercise tomorrow. So everything is set, and the Lower Assam is going to play a crucial role in deciding who's going to take on the victory stand, and the competition is between the BJP and the Congress alliance. Though BJP looks very, very much confident, because day before yesterday, when I spoke to the Chief Minister of Assam, he said that we have already achieved in an invincible lead, and BJP is having a pro-incumbency, and we would form a government with a 2/3 majority.
Right.
So there you hear from me.
Okay.
All right, Vishal, thank you so much for joining us with those inputs. That was our correspondent Vishal joining us from Assam, and next we go across to our correspondent Abhishek Jha joining us from Rameshwaram. Abhishek, let us know what all preparations have been put in place. Single phase of polls to be held tomorrow. A big day there in Tamil Nadu. Let us know, is everything in place?
Of course, Preeti, this is going to be a big day because all 234 seats of the assembly will be going to poll tomorrow, and preparations are in full mode. Especially this part of the country has one of the major concern for Election Commission most of the time, because of the money flow that is very dangerous here. In fact, this time around also, when you see the state-wise money seizure that has happened in the recent days, wherever the poll is going to happen, more than 50% of all that black money or the money trail has been found in Tamil Nadu only. So at certain sensitive districts or certain sensitive assemblies, Election Commission has appointed 2 revenue observer also to track and trace the money trail that will be going on in this state election. And now today is the 5th of April, and tomorrow is the election. So the next 24 hours are actually very crucial for to curb and check all that money trail that is going to happen from across political parties, because you have seen so many political parties and leaders and drivers and cars being caught by alert police official, administration personnel, and money has been seized in them. Liquor is another issue that that has kept Election Commission very alerted in this time around, that the liquor trail should also be checked. These are the like talking about otherwise the election process in Tamil Nadu states moreover remains almost calm and peaceful. No major violence is reported normally during the election. However, the state machinery and the administration under Election Commission's watch is very much prepared to stave off any untoward incidences. All the security measures have been put in place. This time around, due to Corona also, this is the first time that Corona pandemic has hit, and this state is also going to have an election. So all the preparation for election and polling officials have also been done. All the measures like safety health protocol that we say, the social distancing, sanitization, masking, that will be put in place at every polling booth. These are the broad preparation for Election Commission.
All right, Abhishek, thanks very much for joining us for the moment and sharing all those updates there from Tamil Nadu as far as the elections there are concerned. Let's move on now.
Yes, we'll continue getting you updates related to elections. Campaigning is in full swing in West Bengal for the remaining phases of assembly elections. BJP National President JP Nadda will address various public meetings in the state. He will also hold a road show from Toliganj tram depot to Garia. West Bengal Chief Minister and TMC Chief Mamata Banerjee will address various rallies in Hooghly and South 24 Parganas.
And let's now go across to our correspondent Prasenjit Bakshi, who is joining us from Kolkata this morning. Prasenjit, is an important phase yet again there for the 8-phased elections in West Bengal. Just take us through what the electorate is feeling right now and the political arithmetic that one can witness there on the ground in the state.
Look, 31 seats is going to poll tomorrow. The major challenge for the Election Commission tomorrow is the South 24 Parganas. I must I must detail the thing, because why I am saying that Election Commission, it is a challenge for the Election Commission, because it is the place, South 24 Parganas, where it was reported in 2018 Panchayat poll that nobody was allowed to even file the nominations from opposition. And this is the place from where the youth Trinamool Congress leader Abhishek Banerjee is the member of parliament, and he has got a lot of infamous credit in favor of him for restricting voters from gathering before the polling stations. This is similar allegations were reported in 2019 Lok Sabha election also. So that is why Election Commission has divided the South 24 Parganas districts in 3 different phases. This is the unprecedented. The other districts are divided in 2 phases, but the South 24 Parganas districts are divided in 3 phases, and a major part will going to poll tomorrow. So it is a challenge for the security forces, for Election Commission conducting peaceful and free poll in this area. Apart from that, part of Howrah and part of Hooghly is also included in tomorrow's polling. But as you know that West Bengal is going for 8-phase polling, so campaign is also going on. As you mentioned already, BJP President JP Nadda will be in Kolkata itself, Tollygunge. It is a part of Kolkata, and he will be campaigning for Babul Supriyo, the central minister who is contesting in Tollygunge, and he will be also in Hooghly district. As at the same time, Mamta is doing rallies, 3 rallies at least every day. She will be also in parts of South 24 Pargana and Hooghly. So in other way, eyes of Election Commission and the security forces are very tightly concentrated on South 24 Parganas, that I must repeat constantly.
All right, hawk-eyed preparations have been put in place. Prasenjit, also let us know, this is the 3rd phase of polling in the state. How is this phase marked different from the previous 2 phases? Let us know what interesting facts do we look forward to, in particular, when we talk of this phase of polling.
Look, so far we have seen the polling happened in mostly Maoist areas. That Election Commission has completed in the first 2 phases. Now it is the place where the Maoist effects are not there, but agrarian people are mostly staying in these areas. And Amphan, as I told earlier, that South 24 Parganas is the part where election will happen, a major area of South 24 Parganas. And the Amphan is an issue which is mostly affected in this area on 20th May of 2020. And alleged corruption related to Amphan relief work, that is a major issue in this area. Communal tension is also there in this area, so that is the challenge for the security forces to maintain a peace and free and fair elections. So Amphan, communal division, agrarian problems, these are the issues which will be focused on this during this coming election of 3rd phase in tomorrow.
All right, Prasenjit Bakshi, thanks very much for joining us for the moment and sharing all those updates there from West Bengal about the 3rd phase of polling that will take place tomorrow.
Yes, let's get to other news now. When we talk of the other news which we are tracking this hour, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov will arrive in New Delhi on a 2-day visit to India. The visit will present an opportunity to discuss aspects of bilateral ties and also review preparations for the next India-Russia annual summit later this year. During the visit, the Russian Foreign Minister will hold bilateral talks with External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar. Also, according to a statement by the Russian embassy in India, the heads of the foreign affairs agencies will discuss the current state of bilateral relations, the preparation of the upcoming high-level meeting this year, including cooperation in the fight against the pandemic, will consider key topics on the regional global agenda, assess approaches to the interaction between Russia and India on the international arena, including at the UN and BRICS. The Russian foreign minister's visit to India comes as Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringla visited the country in February this year, where he met Lavrov and discussed wide-ranging special and privileged strategic partnership between the two countries and also ways to further strengthen it.
Now, US Special Presidential Envoy for Climate John Kerry is scheduled to arrive in India today. He'll be in India till the 8th of April, during which he'll discuss the upcoming Leaders Summit on Climate hosted by President Joe Biden, as well as key climate issues in the context of the COP26 meeting to be held later this year. During his visit, John Kerry is expected to hold talks with the Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar. The Leaders Summit on Climate will be held on 22nd and 23rd of April. The 26th Conference of Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change will be held later this year.
Also, now we get to updates on the historic Dandi Yatra. Remembering Bapu through historic Dandi Yatra, Padyatris started their journey in Navsari district. A large number of local women also joined this journey from here. They reached Karadi village by evening, where Union Minister Mansukh Bhai Mandavia walked along with them.
The historic Dandi Yatra has special significance in India's freedom struggle. Following Gandhiji's path, the journey started from Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay Exhibition Centre in Navsari district on the morning of 4th April 2021. The participants, including women and children of the Jhumte Sanskar Bharati School, chanted the slogan of Vande Mataram and Bharat Mata Ki Jai and reached Matwad. Several memories are associated with Mahatma Gandhi in Matwad village, which are still afresh in people's mind. Gandhiji not only visited the village but also held a meeting in Khadi Bhandar of Matwad village. On the evening of April 4th, 1930, Mahatma Gandhi came to Karadi after a meeting in Matwad village. Union Minister Mansukh Bhai Mandavia also came to Karadi with Padyatris. The Union Minister also emphasized on unity and integrity of the country. Bureau Report, DD India.
Alright, that was a special report we get for you every morning on Dandi Yatra, but we regret due to some technical fault, the audio level in the sound clips was not there, and we regret that. Let's move on further in the bulletin, and we get to now all the international updates in our segment Across the Globe.
Now, Bangladesh goes into a week-long lockdown from today to curb the spread of COVID-19. All the public transport services, including roads, waterways, railways and domestic flight, will remain suspended. Every office and court will be closed during this lockdown, but the industries and mills will continue their operation on a rotation basis. Many have rushed to leave the capital Dhaka on Sunday in the hope of getting to their hometowns as the shutdown of business leaves them with little to do in the city. Bangladesh reported a record 7,087 new cases in the past 24 hours, and with the new cases, the tally has reached 6,37,364 in the country. The country has also reported 9,266 deaths due to COVID-19.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson will set out plans to reopen the economy and eventually relaunch international travel today. As much of Europe enters new lockdowns to tackle the surging cases, Johnson will give an update on his staggered plan to ease restrictions in the coming months. The gradual relaxation of the rules will also be aided by increase in testing availability. England will be entitled to take a rapid COVID-19 test twice a week to prevent outbreaks and find those people not displaying symptoms. Johnson is expected to confirm that non-essential retail, outdoor hospitality and hairdressers can reopen on April 12th in England, while he will also give more details on vaccine passports and international travel. Under the current plan, international travel will not resume until May 17th at the earliest.
Now, Colombia will extend the COVID-19 restrictions based on intensive care unit occupancy rates amid the rising case numbers. The Colombian president said that curfews based on ICU capacity will be in place from today and will continue till the 19th of April. The cities with an ICU occupancy of above 85% will have a curfew from the 6 in the evening through 5 in the morning, while those with between 80 to 85% capacity will have curfews beginning at 8 at night. The curfews will start at 10 at night for cities with between 70 to 79% occupancy, while those with between 50 to 69% will be restricted from midnight until 5 in the morning. The Colombian government has repeatedly warned people not to lower their guard during the Easter holidays and put in place the weekend curfews. The Andean country, which has recorded more than 2.4 million COVID-19 cases and over 64,000 deaths, has so far administered nearly 2.4 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines.
Pope Francis on Easter Sunday urged the world to quicken distribution of COVID-19 vaccines, particularly to the world's poor, and called armed conflict and military spending during the pandemic scandalous in his Easter message. COVID-19 has meant this has been the second successive year that Easter papal services have been attended by small gatherings at a secondary altar of St. Peter's Basilica instead of by crowds in the church or in the square outside. After saying Mass, Francis read his Urbi et Orbi message, in which he traditionally reviews world problems and also appeals for peace.
La pandemia è ancora in pieno corso.
The pandemic is still spreading. The social and economic crisis remains severe, especially for the poor. Nonetheless, and this is scandalous, armed conflicts have not ended and military arsenals are being strengthened. Everyone, especially the most fragile people, needs assistance and has the right to have access to the necessary care. This is even more evident in this time when we are all called to fight the pandemic. Vaccines are an essential tool in this fight. I urge the entire international community in a spirit of global responsibility to commit to overcoming delays in the distribution of vaccines and to facilitate their distribution, especially in the poorest countries.
E sostenga le fatiche di medici e infermieri.
And let's now take a look at all the updates on COVID-19 from across the world. Well, the cases of COVID-19 globally has crossed the 13 crore mark. More than 13 crore 19 lakh people worldwide have contracted COVID-19 so far, while over 10 crore 61 lakh have also recovered from it. The deadly virus has so far claimed more than 28 lakh 65,000 lives globally. The US still remains the worst affected country by COVID-19 and has reported more than 3 crore 14 lakh COVID-19 cases. Over 5 lakh 68,000 fatalities have been reported in the US so far.
And up next, we get to Web Review, wherein a colleague joins us every morning to get us what all has been put forth in the various social media platforms.
And we have our colleague joining us, Meghna is joining us this morning. Meghna, good morning. Take us through what have you selected for our viewers this morning in the World Wide Web.
Yes, a very good morning, Nancy and Preeti. Currently, the web, the web portals are all filled with news of, different guidelines related to COVID-19. So the first news that I've picked up is more than 59,000 people have been inoculated in Delhi on Sunday. This is the first time that vaccine was given on a Sunday as well. And also, if we earlier see that the center had on Saturday directed states and union territories to stop fresh registration for healthcare workers and frontline workers, as some ineligible beneficiaries under this category were also getting their names enlisted for vaccination. So this is that comes from Delhi, that how many people have been inoculated on a Sunday. Next is vaccination is to be speeded up in private offices and factories in Gurugram. The state administration has tied up with companies and will hold vaccination camps in premises to cater to the office-going staff above 45 years of age. And many private hospitals have already been, getting requests from companies. Therefore, this would add to the government, private and community vaccination centers. So, roping in the private offices and setting up camps there will definitely speed up the vaccination process. Next is the Delhi Metro is undertaking conversion of its remaining fleet of 6 coach trains into 8 coach ones by adding 120 additional carriages on red, yellow and blue lines. The conversion will be completed by the end of this year, and after which all the trains in these 3 lines will have 8 coaches each. And this activity is basically being carried out to increase the carrying capacity of these 3 major lines of the Delhi Metro. Next we have the Delhi police has, started a big crackdown on the people who have been violating the COVID protocols, the guidelines. The Delhi police has begun conducting special drives against the people who are violating the COVID-19 safety protocols amidst the surge in infections in the national capital. And about 17 FIRs were registered against the owners of restaurants, pubs and banquets across Delhi on Saturday evening, and 173 challans were slapped on violators who had violated the COVID-19 guidelines and protocols. And special drive was also carried out near the establishment where there is expected to be more footfall. The next is from the Hindustan Times, a very important yet a soft story. The Indian beatbox community has been alive in the past year using the lockdown period and using the platforms like YouTube and Instagram to raise money for COVID relief. Beatboxing simply is something like vocal percussion, and many youngsters have been exploring their talent into beatboxing during the lockdown. And not only in India but also globally, these beatboxers have been using their platform to raise money for COVID relief. So, this article displays, interviews of several youngsters who are beatboxers and have been raising money during the lockdown and also during the pandemic and currently as well. So that's all I have in the web news review for today. Back to the studios for more updates to Nancy and Preeti.
All right, beatboxers, they're using their passion, using their hobby for a noble cause. Thank you so much, Meghna, for joining us with that web review this morning.
Absolutely. With that, let's move on now to our next segment and get you all the business news in BizBuzz. Now, the Finance Ministry on Sunday said that the banks have sanctioned 25,586 crore rupees to about 1,14,322 beneficiaries under the Stand Up India scheme in the last 5 years for promoting entrepreneurship among women and SCs and STs. The objective of the Stand Up India is to promote entrepreneurship amongst women, scheduled castes and scheduled tribes categories to also help them in starting a greenfield enterprise in trading, manufacturing and services sector by both ready and trainee borrowers. Now, under the scheme, the bank loans between 10 lakh rupees and 1 crore rupees are provided to at least one scheduled caste or scheduled tribe borrower and at least one woman borrower per bank branch of the scheduled commercial banks.
Indian Railways will start the services of 71 unreserved trains. They include Varanasi to Sultanpur, Amritsar to Pathankot, Jalandhar city to Pathankot, Firozpur to Ludhiana, Bhatinda to Firozpur, Delhi to Rohtak, Delhi to Panipat. Now these trains will be run by Northern Railway. Railways Minister Piyush Goyal has said that these trains will ensure safe and comfortable journey for the passengers.
And let's now move on and get you sports news in Sports Track. And first up, news from tennis in Miami Open. 24-year-old Hurkacz won the biggest title of his career by beating 19-year-old Jannik Sinner of Italy 7-6, 6-4 on Sunday. With this victory, Hubert became the first tennis player in Poland to make the ATP Masters event his own. Hubert has entered the top 20 in the ATP rankings for the first time, rising from 37th position to the 16th position.
Manchester United defeated Brighton's team 2-1 in the match played on Sunday in the English Premier League. Also, Danny Welbeck headed the Seagulls into a deserved lead against his former club 13, with a lackluster United having failed to register a single shot on target in the opening 45 minutes. But Marcus Rashford restored parity with his 19th goal of the season before Greenwood stopped to head in Paul Pogba's miss hit as Brighton's resolve was broken with 7 minutes remaining.
And with that, let's move on now and get you the significance of this day in history.
On this day in the year 1930, Mahatma Gandhi reached Dandi, a small coastal village in Gujarat, after travelling 385 kilometers with 78 followers to break the salt law. This event is known as the Dandi March and was started from the Sabarmati Ashram in Gujarat. On the same day in the year, Julius and Ethel Rosenberg were sentenced to death for giving away atomic secrets to the Russians. The pair were convicted of spying on behalf of the Soviet Union. In 1957, on this day, Communists won the first elections in United Kerala and EAMS Namboodiripad was sworn in as the first Chief Minister. On this day in the year 2010, in a televised rescue, 115 Chinese coal miners were freed after spending 8 days trapped in a flooded mine, surviving an accident that killed 38.
And up next, we get you weather across the country and the maximum and minimum temperatures as well. A western disturbance lies above mean sea level and it runs through the West Himalayan region, and because of this, scattered to widespread rainfall and snowfall is likely over Jammu, Kashmir, Ladakh, Gilgit-Baltistan and Muzaffarabad and Himachal Pradesh, and also over Uttarakhand. Isolated rainfall over Punjab, Haryana and West Uttar Pradesh is likely. Isolated thunderstorm and lightning and gusty winds over Western Himalayan region is also likely, and also over adjoining plains today and tomorrow. Isolated hailstorms are also likely over Jammu, Kashmir, Ladakh, Gilgit-Baltistan and Muzaffarabad. Dust storm and thunderstorm and gusty winds are also expected over West Rajasthan. Heat wave conditions are likely in isolated pockets over Southwest Rajasthan, over East Rajasthan and over Vidarbha and also Madhya Pradesh. Up next, we get to temperatures across the major cities of the country. right, that's it in this edition of the Breakfast News this morning. But before we go, we leave you every day with this reminder that we do not have to put our fight against the pandemic off guard. Remember, this is a very important time. We have to keep taking precautions, and also we have to keep up the behavioral changes. Remember, wear a mask and wear it correctly and properly, and this would give more mettle to our fight against the pandemic.
Absolutely, yes. It's a reminder that we get you every day for your safety and the safety of your loved ones. With that, it's a wrap. But before we go, we're leaving you with, in fact, we're taking you to Japan, where Cherry Blossom Festival there is taking place for the first time in 2 years in northeastern town of Tomoika, near the site of the 2011 Fukushima nuclear disaster. Take a look at those beautiful cherry blossoms there across Japan, and we wish you a great and a safe day ahead. Thanks for being with us.